Yo, what's good, nigga? Yeah, what's good, boy? Yo, where you at, man? What do you mean where I'm at? I'm at the bench, son. You taking forever, B? Oh, you over at the bench? Copy, I'm about to pull up. I pull up, I'm here. Oh, where you at? All right, copy. Told you I was coming, but what's up, though? What's good, bro? Oh! You've been waiting for a nigga, I'm right here, what's up?
Damn, bro! You sneaky bastard. Jewel talk. It's Jewel talk.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to Jewel Talk.
Jewel talk.
Jewel Talk.
Jewel talk.
Jewel Talk.
Jewel talk. Spend nothing but jewels. You heard?
I'll be your host, Mac More Money.
And I'm Finesse Leo.
That's a fact, guys.
So listen
Welcome
up,
back.
guys, man. Welcome back. So we have a very, very interesting episode. You know, something that's this is very new for us. This is like a new type of guest, new type of feel, and it's gonna be a different direction. So I would like to introduce both our guests. You know, jewelers, please welcome our two guests, Elliot and Alan. Welcome, guys. Welcome.
Hi.
And thank you. We want to thank you for allowing us in your home to record this. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And taking your time out of you guys' busy schedule to sit down with us and talk to us, you know?
Sounds great.
So let's just get into it. So how I want to start off is I guess I met Elliot because at my job, and you know, he was like talking to me and Maceo, you know, about what he does and you know a little bit of his history and everything. So me and Maceo just decided to just do this episode with him and everything. And he was like, I got my buddy Alan, he wants to come on too. So he was like, hey, the more the merrier. And just talk about, give good history and everything. So guys, how about you guys start off, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Like, where are you guys from? Let's start off with that.
Well, first I'll just say, when I met you for the first time, I just came from a rehearsal with one of my Rolling Stones tribute bands.
Okay.
And I was on the way home to have a rehearsal with another group here at my studio.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where I came from, originally it was Bensonhurst.
Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. Okay.
And when I was about 3 or 4 years old, my parents moved to Franklin Square.
Okay.
Where I went to North High, Valley Stream North.
Oh, okay.
And I had my friends in West Hempstead. I think I was in 5th grade, 10 years old, and I went into my mother's bedroom, and she had the 19-inch Sony Trinitron television on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's old tube TV, one of the state-of-the-art at that time.
That was an expensive TV for back then.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 4 guys on the Ed Sullivan show.
Ed Sullivan, I heard that name before, definitely.
February of '64 is when I fell in love with music with the Beatles.
With the Beatles, okay, that's the start.
First time, a week later, I had a guitar in my hand.
What kind of guitar?
I think it was a Guild.
A Guild.
And it was a rental.
Rental, okay.
And the strings were so far from the fretboard that your fingers bled.
Really?
Wow.
My mother and father sent me to an Italian instructor named Pinto.
And where was this?
Pinto was in Franklin Square too,
Okay.
on Franklin Avenue.
It was a music shop?
No, he was a music instructor. Didn't know a word of English. He was
wow.
But he knew music. And back then, if you made a mistake, you got whacked in the back of the head. And you were scared straight to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Where today, he would have been in jail.
Yes.
But,
Today he would not have been allowed to criticize you.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, he frightened me into really learning music. Back then with records, We played the records. We pick the needle up and go over the part again.
groove,
pick it up, and go over it again and again. Oh, that's how it goes. Oh, that's how it goes. And a friend of mine, one of my first bands in 7th, 8th grade, we, no, I think it was in 11th grade, I'm sorry, 11th grade, because Woodstock had happened and everybody fell in love with Soul Sacrifice. And what he did was we had 3-inch reel tape on a micro small tape thing that everybody had, a little plastic microphone. And we recorded doing Soul Sacrifice.
You guys played Soul Sacrifice?
I actually, he put it on the internet, and all of a sudden, my friend Bruce said, Elliot was in a band with me, and here's what we did. It was funky, but it was Soul Sacrifice.
Soul Sacrifice. So Soul Sacrifice is the band. That's the name of Carlos Santana's band.
No, that's the name of his #1 song that actually happened. Not maybe not the best song he did, but
And he wasn't crazy even big back like at that time. That was when he was just starting out.
Locally he was.
Locally,
He was already, like, when he got invited to play in Woodstock, he was up and coming. He was actually called the Carlos Santana Blues Band. But they were originally known out in California, not at all on the East.
Yeah, definitely, because that's where he's from, right?
he played Fillmore West.
Right,
Fillmore West.
and the person who did
Troubadour.
well, a lot of the bookings, okay, said to the producers of Woodstock, you know, if you want me to give you Jefferson Airplane and some of the other big artists that you do know, you're going to have to bring in Santana, who they didn't know. And that ended up being great because as soon as Santana started playing, people just all of a sudden became energetic. Saturday morning Woodstock was kind of a little flat because people were all burnt out from the night before, not getting sleep. The opening acts on Saturday were fine, but they were not appreciated as much until Santana came on.
So, all right. So
we were one of the first people to listen to Santana and start playing Santana. It was just like they were fresh, they were new, they were like different.
When you were a kid, when you were younger.
Yeah, I was a
so
young kid.
Yeah, that's
all right. So what year is this when you guys? How long have you guys known each other? Start that.
He doesn't remember this, but I actually first met him when I moved into the neighborhood. When I moved into the neighborhood.
Oh, what? This is in Franklin Square?
No.
I moved to Woodmere in
Woodmere?
97.
97. Okay.
I don't want to jump from time to time.
Yeah. So.
Do you want to hold off? Or?
Yeah. Let's hold on. All right.
Yeah,
So let's start with this. Like, all right, before we even get into Woodstock.
Where we met.
Yeah, where we met. All right. So. Can you give a little bit about yourself?
Very good. First of all, I also love Dunkin' Donuts. I also go there after. I've been going there after every band practice.
Yeah.
Because I'm always tired, and I always say, Melissa or Mike, if I'll buy you donuts. No one ever shows up. So
Because we're all tired.
me sitting there by myself, looking at the news on my phone. But look what comes out of being there. Now, I grew up in Brooklyn, Flatbush Avenue, Kings Highway.
Oh, okay. I know exactly where that's at.
There's a Dunkin' Donuts right there.
Yeah. All right. So
There's a Starbucks
both guys
too.
are from Brooklyn.
So I'm from Brooklyn.
Yeah, okay.
And then when I was 10, I moved to Staten Island.
Staten Island. Oh,
And
okay.
I was Staten Island.
Yeah.
You too?
No.
I liked it because at the time, you know, I hated the city, and in Staten Island there was, like, you know, there were woods, there was a creek, there was, you know, so I liked suburbia, whatever, in that sense. And I started playing in bands, you know, like in high school and jamming with people in the area. But, you know,
What got you into it? Like, what got you into like what was like your earliest memory? Like, this is something.
I will tell you that. I remember I was 5 years old, and I remember being at certain parades and hearing bands play, and that's something that just pulled me about it. And then when I was younger, going to weddings and stuff like that, bar mitzvahs and weddings, and just I would be the kid who would stand next to the band and ask if I could play the keyboards or whatever. And then so then I took lessons, and I actually got thrown out of lessons because you had a teacher. Mine had bad breath. He smelled like garlic. He breathed in my face, and I just couldn't handle it. And also, I didn't like do my work, so I got thrown out. But I continued to jam a lot. I played with my brother because he played guitar.
Yeah.
My first keyboard was this cheap. This doesn't exist anymore. It was called a Magnus organ. It was you turn it on, it blows air.
God.
So it like blows air, and then when you hit the notes, the air is gonna go under and go boom. It really sounds like crap. But I jammed on it. I played Freebird by Leonard Skinner on that crappy organ with other people. Then in high school, though, I did get into a band that was more classic rock. We were playing at Fort Hamilton High School, which was so wonderful until the singer, who looked like Jim Morrison, decides to take out a marijuana joint in the 80s. Then you weren't allowed. And the cops came, and then that was the end of the show, which was bad because we had a huge crowd. And then later on, I guess in my 20s, actually in my 20s, I started managing blues bands and going through the booking things and putting all the effort to get work and to get new musicians and so on. I didn't think Woodstock. I mean, I liked the songs, but I was more just into playing anywhere I could, and I enjoyed blues.
So how old? Was this your cell phone?
That's mine.
Oh, it's yours? Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you would like, we no problem. It's okay.
I'm good, guys.
Yeah, forgot to mention because I made sure I put my.
But turn off your phone. Put it to vibrate. And if it's vibrating, don't put it on the table.
Yeah, but I guess So yeah, I guess when he comes back, we can like talk about like because I want to talk about, I guess.
You know, that was a robocall too.
Oh, okay.
I hate that.
I don't answer my phone anymore.
I'm glad I didn't.
Why I have a house phone? Because
Oh, they hit you on the house phone?
all it is IRS pretending they're gonna like.
Yeah, I hear you. So, all right. So, how? I guess let's get into this now. So, how old were you guys when Woodstock happened?
I was 16.
I was 4.
You was 4? Oh, okay. All right. So you're okay. So you're older. All right. So
Actually, before Woodstock, my mother told my sister to take me to the West Hampstead Island Garden.
Keep you away.
She wanted, my sister was 3 years older, right? She's 18 years old.
She did not want to go to
She
Woodstock.
did not want to, no, it wasn't Woodstock. She didn't want to take me to the Island Garden. She was going with her girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I had to go with her, right? So I went with her, and there was, I walked in and everyone had like toupees, sunglasses, and a goatee.
At the Island Garden?
You know who was playing?
Oh.
Some guy named Bob Dylan.
wow, okay. I heard about.
Well, instead of Woodstock, that's not bad.
Yeah.
No, I just want to bring it up.
That's a good consolation prize.
The problem was that he had a group of people behind him that were sensational. And they were
Who did he have the band?
He had the band.
What year was this?
1967.
Wow.
Is that about right?
That's impressive. That's very
And
impressive.
then, well, listen, I got to go there to see the Young Rascals make their debut performance. I saw Leslie West before he was in a group called Mountain. He was in a group called the Vagrants there.
Oh, okay.
I went to, when I was at Nassau Community, they opened up with George Carlin.
George Carlin,
He
the comedian.
And he opened up for Sha Na Na.
Sha Na Na, I never heard of them. Sha Na Na.
Oh, they do everything. They're a doo-wop, 10-piece doo-wop. There are 3 guys in gold suits. There was one guy named Bowser who hit all the low notes.
Yeah, low notes.
And everything like that. And they were great. They danced all
So
over.
did you ever go to Woodstock, or your mom didn't let you?
No. My sister went.
Your sister went. Wow. Okay.
And
So she just left you.
Yeah, but when she came back and she turned me on to hash for the first time.
Hash.
I didn't even smoke pot.
How old are you? How old are you?
I was 16.
16.
And
I was
she
younger in
turned
Staten Island. So.
Yeah.
Then she
Let's
was
face it.
friends at the time with Joni Mitchell.
Your sister was friends with Joni Mitchell?
Who's
Yes,
that?
she was. She wrote the song Woodstock.
She was she's still alive, still performs, but she was very famous folk
She's
singer.
like in a thing about
Canada,
Carole
but-
King.
But very famous. Could have played at Woodstock, turned it down. But one of the higher end people that at the time.
At the time, she was phenomenal.
So when you got older and everything, so what was like the first band you started like playing in?
I'll be honest with you. When I was in 5th grade, I put a group, 2 guys on my block. All 3 of us played guitar, and we serenaded. The end of the 5th grade, I already had 4 or 5 chords on the guitar, and so did everybody else. We went and we sang to our own 5th grade class I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles,
Oh, okay.
which was their first song. And I'm thinking about it. I picked the guitar up in February, and the end of the season was June. So by June, I was able to play. I wanted to play so badly. I played.
Okay.
Then I was in bands in high school. One band that was really incredible. I had a band called Cambridge, which was like a laid-back thing. We were first getting into the early Eagles, but I had a band called The Lighter Side of Darkness that had a huge high school following. Yeah, what's the initials?
What's the initial? Lighter Side of Darkness. L.
Yeah.
L-I.
No. LSD.
Oh wait, LS. Oh yeah, Lighter Side of LSD.
LSD.
Wow.
And a lot of people back then were going, yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
That's a great name. You can recycle it.
LSD. Wow. Yeah, that's a good.
You can
Lighter Side
bring
of
it back.
Darkness.
No one will know.
Then I had, and with us, because we gone to the Fillmore, they had the Joshua White light show where they mixed water and oils.
Which,
And
by the
when
way,
that-
we have had that, not the official Joshua Light show, but someone who does the same kinds of things.
Yeah.
At our retro fests,
we had
we have that happen.
Oh, okay.
So
We
there's a guy
had
that
the, we had the
volunteers and does it.
Stoned Experience light show.
Oh, okay.
And now, I'll tell you something, the funniest thing that ever happened, and I think I never told you this too. We were playing a guy named Ray Faber right by this north side of the parkway. And we were up on the roof, and he sets a big sheet screen up there, and we had a stolen opaque projector from the school, and we mixing oil. They were mixing the oils, and we were playing in front. We didn't know what was going on. This guy named Kenny came in with his father's 8mm Stag films, and he starts projecting the films on behind us. So we don't see it. And it's just porno going on behind us.
Wow.
They're like playing music and
So what happened?
porn in the back.
Wow.
And everybody's
They're not looking at you, they're looking at the porn. But you think it's them, and they're like, wow, they like us.
Until we caused a car crash on the Southern State.
Wow.
No, someone crashed.
on the Southern State.
People watching it.
That is crazy.
And then the state
That's
police
crazy.
came there, broke everything down. They shut it down. They went, all right, who owns this? And he was gone. Suck off. You know,
So-
shit. You know, we don't know. We're sitting there quiet. We're not even looking at this stuff.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
We should try that.
that's crazy.
You know, next time we play in a place and the owner complains there's not enough people, we're going to put it up on the screen.
A lot of people would tell you.
Yeah, a lot of people- So,
But today the technology outweighs. It's all digital today. You can do anything you want on the screen, any size.
no, definitely. So, like, so now that like you say you was like a teenager in Woodstock and everything, so like just what about it like for you guys? Because I see how it's such a heavily influenced with you guys to this day. So what about it like just drawing to you like with Santana and all the groups like that? Like, what about it just drawing you into it?
The variety of the core of those years of music, between the Janis Joplin, the Jim Morrisons, the Jimi Hendrix, everyone had something to offer for us as musicians growing into what they were doing. And it was just fantastic because you could look at the Moody Blues, or you could look at Chicago, day and night to two. And you could take something
And then not all these bands were Woodstock, but from the era.
from the era.
Yeah, definitely from like
That era.
late 60s, early 70s.
Early
and everything.
70s.
Mhm.
And when we talk about the different, what Retrofest tries to reproduce these other Woodstock style concerts, so some of these bands are at those. You know,
Well, you know, like he does Monterey.
yeah, in '67
Monterey
was
Pop
the Monterey
Festival.
Pop Fest.
Oh,
That was
okay,
a few years
okay.
earlier. Some of the bands were in common, some of them were not. But it was, but that's kind of when it started. I mean, look, there's Bonnaroo and all those things now. This was different because it was on a smaller scale. It wasn't as fancy.
And how was like New? I guess we can like talk about like how was New York? I guess growing up in New York around that time and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, actually, it was
Well, in the
there was
60s.
a lot of
Yeah, in the
hippies.
60s and 70s.
Okay, in the mid to late 60s, the hippie movement came from California to love, peace.
The flower.
Sadly, I don't remember.
It came that
before.
I see
Yeah.
you were young. I remember it.
Yeah.
But the whole thing, what I do remember,
I do remember the 70s.
is that my sister was going out with this guy named Glenn Mattei, who was a guitar player, and he sat down with me a lot.
Yeah.
He was the lead guitar player for the Joffrey Ballet in Manhattan. You ever never heard of it? Joffrey Ballet was one of the biggest modern things before the Broadway show Hair came out.
Ah, speak about hair. At Woodstock, the second person who played at Woodstock was a man called Bert Summer. It was a trio, right? And he was actually connected to the Vagrants. He helped write some of the words. He was a singer. He was the main guy in Hair. Like, he was.
Yeah. Well, if I hope when you play this back and you listen to what we're mentioning and things, look up some of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You'd say, "Holy shit!" You know.
Did you guys see any of the movies? The Woodstock movie or?
I remember I've seen like a little bit. That's where cause I'm a big music head too. And
he's more of a music head.
Yeah.
I'm more like up tuned with like the current.
Yeah.
I dabble with a little like.
Well, I have to put him on to like the old school. I'm like,
old school.
I'm like a really big, just because of like my father. Like my father was like a really he put me on to a lot of stuff. That's the only reason why I know such things as like Carlos Santana and
But
Jimi Hendrix.
the other thing the other area that I really fell in love with was Motown.
Motown, yeah,
I
the
love Motown.
We actually, the funny thing is, I wish we still. We can't find the DVD, but
video, so
in like elementary school, we did like basically like the Temptations, because we're triplets.
Oh sure.
Yeah, so we're triplets, and it might not look it because we don't look alike, but but we have a third one as well.
My daughter got twins, and they don't boy and girl. You know.
That's cool. See, yeah, exactly, same thing.
That's actually one of the segments right before I jumped into the Woodstock obsession. Right before I jumped into the Woodstock obsession, so it was 1990. I'm losing track. It was 2004, and I had been in a band with a bunch of friends, but eventually, even though it was business successful, it started to get uncomfortable. I started to get into fights with the drummer and the bass player.
Really, was it like for personal reasons?
You just told me something that's so important about all the bands I'm in.
Yeah.
They all get along. They all get along.
You know why? I will not take. If somebody gets mad, I'll let them blow their steam.
Yeah.
And then I'll crack a joke, and everybody starts laughing. And then this guy, even you.
Yeah, when I get moody. Yeah, I have to tell you, Retro69 has always been peace. But to answer that question, I noticed this happened in my 20s and 30s, but it did stop later on. Even with good people, egos exist. And none of us are doing this as a living, but we are doing it as a passion. And what ends up happening is, when a band first starts out, people are just happy to get to play. They're happy just to get a band. But once it becomes successful, people get used to that. And it's not a matter of people getting greedy, but what happens is they start to focus on things that have to do more with the ego. Who's calling the shots? Who's picking the songs? Who's making decisions? Who's doing this? And what ends up happening is usually you're going to have two people of type A's, and they just start to clash. And unless you have a situation where you have built-in respect, which does happen, you can end up pulling at each other, and that will cause friction, which is what happened with me. 3 different times I eventually had to leave the band that I started because a new person eventually started to resent me leading in, and I'm not a dominant leader. I'm very democratic the way I do things. But on the 3rd time that it happened, and this is how we get into Motown, it was in 2004, my friend Gary, who was much older than I, but what he taught me was how you deal with this. He said, if you don't say anything, but if somebody starts giving an attitude, and you see it, you just don't call them back. You don't have to get into fights. You can control as a band leader not to bring toxic people in without fighting. You just don't bring them in. And he brought me into his band, and he had the genre was Motown Stax. Stax was the competitor to Motown.
Yeah, I met him.
But it's the same
We did
era.
a New Year's Eve with this guy, Stax. I'll tell you.
Stax was the record company from the 60s that did a lot of things similar to Motown, but it was from Memphis, I believe. And so we played a lot of that music, and what made his band special, Gary's band special, was that he had Earl Shelton, who at the time was already 68 years old. He had played tenor saxophone for the Temptations as a studio musician, and for Benny King. Obviously, he wasn't the main guy; he was the saxophone player in these house bands that played with these people. And he also played with a band which I never heard of called the Fatback Band, who were famous in the 70s as a sort of a funk disco group. And in that group, Earl Shelton was the main guy.
Yeah.
But he was... So think of, I don't know what your favorite sport is, but I will just take the Mets. Just imagine everyone stinks except you got one guy who could really hit well and one good pitcher. So Earl Shelton was that pitcher and that good guy. And because of how good he was,
did he bring out the...
He brought out the best in us.
Yeah, okay.
And we were able to... me as a good band leader, Gary is knowing every song.
Has there ever been like times where you're in the band and you guys just don't have good chemistry? Like,
yes.
You guys don't be in tune with like how y'all playing?
Yeah.
You had to kick somebody out because of that?
No, we don't look to kick someone out.
Okay.
But we did have, even in Retro, where we've always got along, because we don't have much turnover in Retro69.
We had a girl singer.
Even in that situation where we've had harmony for a very long time, remember, we were together 10 years, but even in that situation, we did get a situation where we brought in somebody new, and right away we started to see the friction.
Yeah.
And we saw the difference, and at that
ended it immediately. We kept going without calling him in.
Right.
Okay. And you know that's the only way to handle it.
What happened also with a female singer also?
The female singer had an issue. Her issue was that she was in about 14 bands and had really no time for anything and had an ego to go with it because she was in 14 bands. But you know what it is to be okay with some things and a master of none. She wasn't the master of anything.
And these are people I like personally.
They really.
I like them personally, and in fact, I sent Bob a video of us playing.
Yep.
Because I discovered it was a video. Even though we're not.
Bottom line, this guy comes in. He was excited to work with us, and he said, "It's wonderful to work with a band that's established." But then he started taking them. Well, this is what I want. And the minute he said, "This is what I want," the flags came up.
Why are you doing so many free shows? You did free. Why you keep doing this? And why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And at that point, I saw the writing on the wall, and I said,
Listen, we do a lot of the things for charity.
Yeah.
And this guy is definitely looking to see what's going in his pocket only. And he's good, but he wasn't great, but he was good. And I said, no, we're not that way. And we didn't fight, but we just went on without it.
Me and him, like after I said it on the phone, in his case it wasn't passive aggressive. I said, unfortunately, you and I just not going to work together.
Did it diplomatically, I should say.
I hear you.
But and the girl who was with us, we were having two girl singers, but one of them was just like her head was swelling, and we stopped asking them to show up.
I also saw that I was marginalizing the other singer. Here's another point to bring up too. Sometimes you can, and this happens in sports, you could have, again, a couple of role players that are really good. And then everyone else are good team players, but their skills are sort of mediocre, but there's something special about the chemistry. And that's how we were with the vocals. We didn't start out with great vocals. Honestly, we never did. And we got complaints.
But we listened.
This group. And we didn't have Earl either, right? But we had a really, really tight rhythm section. I mean, the drums and the bass were really, really, really tight. The guitar work was very good. My enthusiasm was really good. And at times, my soloing was good. Sometimes it's
The funny
not.
thing is, we got a jazz drummer playing rock and roll.
But by sticking together for 10 years and getting along with each other, we all got better. I'd like to think the Giants and Jets could do it or not, but it's not happening. But we did
Maybe
get
the
better.
Jets, but not the Jets.
And now I have to say that because we stuck together, our vocals are definitely really growing to a much...
That's good. Yeah, the chemistry is always amazing.
Yeah.
Like
the girl singer that we have in the band, in our band, in the past I've observed her always singing a little sharp. She has a great memory. She can remember all the words.
She was 27 years old and knew by heart these songs from the 60s.
Yeah.
As opposed to other people sitting reading them. She just knew them.
She just knew them.
Great stage presence.
But her father was also a musician too.
And they're actually playing together. But when she started out, if she was singing Joan Baez, this really popular folk singer from Woodstock, she was on the money. If she was singing Jefferson Airplane, which again is one of the most well-known bands at Woodstock, she was really pretty good. But then when she was singing other stuff, initially, she was trying to sing men roles and other stuff, and her voice would be pitchy. But over time...
She got older, Her vocal cords got a little more relaxed, and now she's bullseye, bullseye, bullseye.
And then we have the male singing, which to me, honestly, is like in baseball. Was used to be like a 220 hitter that might one time get a hit, but it was never great. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. And all of a sudden, the guitar player, who I always thought is, I can't sing a word, so I can't complain. But
he narrates everything.
I do the narration. I do the narration.
Our show at Woodstock, is literally an information show. We do the songs from Woodstock, but he'll narrate what happened in the beginning, what happened in the middle, what happened at night, the mornings, and we keep.
And they tell jokes.
So let me just so the people know, because they hear you guys. Can you explain what I guess Retro69 is? Retro69 is you guys' band,
and Woodstock was 1969.
Woodstock was 1969, so there's a connection, and I see that it's heavily influenced and stuff like that. And so who was that?
Motown, yeah.
Yes.
Well, Gary also liked songs from Woodstock, but it was part of the package. It was not the main package at all. So we would do a few things, and all of a sudden I noticed we were doing a lot. All of a sudden in 2005, I got this idea. Let's do a tribute to Woodstock. We'll get all these people down. We'll only do Woodstock songs. Our band, this is what we do. Great, let's do it. And I imagined tons of people coming down and us playing this stuff. And we set it up at the Blue Parrot, and everyone was excited. And 10 people showed up. Actually, a little more than that. But
that was before me, right?
Yeah, before you. All right,
and what year is this?
This was 2005, and it was not for charity. It was just for fun.
Yeah.
But it was for the love of Woodstock. Something said to me, that is something you love, right? And that band started to play. This is before us. Okay, this is how it started. Retro69 started with Gary. I mean, it started with me and Gary's group. And then we started to focus on the music from Woodstock more and more and more from that one thing. And then I got more and more obsessed about it. I wanted to read up all the history about it and learn about all the different songs and stuff. And Earl was with us playing sax, and we had sax on Santana. It's interesting. And then that's also when we started the charity, because the second time we got the bands together, we said, let's not just do this for no reason. Let's do this to help the hurricane victims.
Oh, before that, also you had the what's the Long Island Building Association?
Yeah, that was one of them that we had.
Because what happened was, let's say somebody needs a ramp in there going up with the wheelchairs for their home. We generate the monies to go have that ramp built for the person's home. But we do everything that we've been involved with. We get a sponsor, and we generate the money for the sponsor and the sponsor
for the charity.
So, can you guys explain how do you get sponsorships?
How do you do that?
All right, so I guess I'll give you the mechanics of how Retrofest works. Okay, so first we come up with an idea. What let's say we want to do 2 shows a year, right? What show do we want to imitate? We've done Woodstock 3 times. We're bored with it. Let's do something else. So we pick something. Then I put out calls to bands, through social media. Originally there was no Facebook. It used to be emails, believe it or not. And we're looking for bands to volunteer to do a tribute to the Watkins Glen show. So we want bands that could do the Grateful Dead, the band, and the Allman Brothers. We start getting all these calls, or you get no calls, depending on what's happened. Then I get in contact with charities that I've spoken to in the past that are interested in doing an event. The more the charity gets involved, the better the event is. Usually. And I sort of have a list, like Long Island Crisis Center, who help. They have the suicide prevention lines.
We did Bobby and the Strays.
Bobby and the Strays, a very, very wonderful
now
animal
Salino
shelter.
and Barnes is sponsoring them.
Oh, okay.
They're pretty big on their own. Did a lot of charities have to do with helping cancer victims. A lot of that. And my mom, unfortunately, passed away from cancer.
Sorry to hear that.
Like 6 months ago.
We got the chance
sorry to hear that.
We performed for his mother.
Yeah, this was very meaningful.
1 month before she passed.
Wow.
And she was in assisted living.
Right, she wasn't in the
my friend from LIE band, my other band, joined us, and we
did a show for them. And
she was
she became alive. She was smiling. My brother was there.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful show. You know what I'm saying? I almost did a show, which I didn't do, but because my mom passed away, day before the show that when she went to Calvary Hospice, the first thing I did was when she was settled, and I went downstairs to speak to the social director because I knew they had events, and he said, "Look, set something up with the band because you don't know how long your mom's going to be here. It would be very important." I got volunteers from Einstein where I work because we have a band there to learn some songs and to go. And this was during work hours, so it wasn't the regular musicians. It was just people volunteering. And we were practicing, and then my mom passed away 2 days later, so we never got to do it. That would have been the hardest concert of my life, to play at a hospice. When you know your mom's dying, and this is it. That's
I hear you.
Maybe God made it easier that I didn't have to do it, but that would have been a show that would have been almost impossible.
So just like, I guess, to go back a little bit, I just want to talk about, so what was like your steps, I guess, getting into the music industry? Because I want to talk about some of the stories you was telling us when I was at Duncan. Like, can you talk about your steps in trying to get into the music industry?
I really didn't. It was you have your network of friends, and your friends had friends, and when you're rehearsing with some, then others came over. I wound up being in a rehearsal with a bunch of buddies in West Hempstead, and Mark, who was the bass player for Twisted Sister, at the time came, and I jammed with him. And then we found out we had similar motorcycles that we're riding. He said, "Hey, come down over in Nino's studio in Baldwin." So I went down to Nino's, and
they're not around anymore, are they?
No, the studio's long gone. And
wait, they're from Long Island, too, like Snyder and everything.
Grand Avenue, Baldwin.
Oh, they're from Baldwin. Oh,
well, they're around. Baldwin and West Hempstead.
Okay.
And around that area.
'Cause I know, I remember hearing something about D. Snyder being from Long Island.
No, they all are, the whole band.
Oh, okay.
Because they, put it this way, and Joan Jett too.
Is Joan Jett from Long Island?
She's from her house is on Mott Street in Rockville Center. That's where my parents live.
Okay.
And then she went ahead one time when they drained the pool. She painted the bottom. The pool was in the shape of a heart, and she painted the bottom black. And then that was because the sediment and everything always showed. But if you have black, you don't see the sediment. So she painted it black, and then when she was at Nino's, she goes, she was always wearing black. Oh, it's black hair, black lip, black lip. Anyway, she said she came up with the name Blackheart. Joan Jett and the Blackhearts.
Okay. So you started playing with the basses. That eventually became the basis of Twisted Sister.
No. And Mark was the bassist of Twisted Sister. Me, I was with what was it? Vinny Riccadella and Brian Levinson and I had a band called Reptile.
Reptile? Okay.
Yeah, now we did all like fusion music. And
what is like fusion?
Fusion is music that doesn't have any
words.
No, it doesn't have any category. It has no category. It's uniquely its own design.
Okay.
We sent it to Eric Gardner. He was a manager for Todd Rundgren. Eric Gardner loved it, gave it to Todd. Todd loved it.
Todd Rundgren?
Yeah. So we went up to Bearsville. We were called up to Bearsville over
Tell him who Todd Rundgren.
Yeah, like what is he, like head of a record company or something?
Well, actually, he was the first guy to experiment with CDs.
CDs, okay.
But he's a very well-renowned musician.
But he did a song called Hello, It's Me. He produced Blinded by the Light that was written by Springsteen and done by
Bruce Springsteen?
Mott the Hoople. And
that was like...
That was going back in the mid-70s, early 70s.
And he was...
So anyway...
He was like your kind of like trying to help you guys?
No, well, I know he was interested in our music. We went up there in the summer.
Fairfield?
Well, it was a double function. We got a job working with a friend who was doing construction. He says, "You want to make some money this summer? We're going to be building a house up near Bearsville." And Todd Rundgren is up in Bearsville. He said, "Do you have a place to stay?" And they said, "Yeah, we can find a place to stay." So we were working on the house of the day and going to Rundgren's place in the evening. And what ended up happening, we were moving along very slowly because when you're doing original fusion type stuff, you got to break it apart and look at it and turn it into something that's sellable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he was doing because nobody else was coming up with it but us. What happened was some guy named Jim Steinman walked into Todd's place, and Todd said, "Hey guys, let's listen to this guy Jim Steinman." Jim Steinman comes in, he has all these paperwork and everything, puts it down, puts it on a piano, and starts playing the entire album, Bat Out of Hell.
Mm.
He wrote it.
Okay, and who's
Meatloaf.
Meatloaf? Oh, my mom loves Meatloaf. Yeah.
Okay, so now anyway, bottom line, they didn't know who was going to do it. They didn't know. Todd Rundgren said,
You could have been the Meatloaf Band.
no. Todd Rundgren said, I'm going to produce it. And Jim Steinman said, that's why I'm here. I want you to produce it.
Mm.
So, more or less, us guys said, I guess we're on the back burner.
Mm.
So we wound up going home, but we did know that we had our foot in that door.
Yeah.
Then I was in studios, and they were in the record plant, Manhattan. That's when I was heard by Tommy Mottola, because I was working with some other band, and he was having a problem with Hall & Oates bass player, who was on drugs.
Oh.
And asked if I would mind going on a tour, but I wouldn't be on the stage. I would be playing off stage.
Really?
Wow.
The bass player was on heroin. He was fucking up.
Wait. So
royally.
in other words, they kept that regular bass player on the stage.
Yeah, because
And
that's what the audience wanted to see, that face.
Right.
So the bass was there, and I'm doing all the music.
Wow. Oh, so he
Yeah.
the plug would not be
He's like,
attached to
fake.
it?
Oh, wow.
That's
That
like lip
is
syncing,
crazy.
except it's
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I was just thinking that. That's like, that's
no idea.
crazy. That's crazy.
That's what I did first.
Wow.
You were the silent, whatever the word is.
Well,
for
I
it.
put it this way. After the tour,
He was the ghost player,
Yeah.
basically.
That's the word for it. You were the ghost player.
now I had a lot of three things. I had a lot of sex, I had a lot of drugs, and I had a lot of rock and roll. I had it all. And I was young. Remember, I'm young.
Yeah, I hear you. And
So what ended up happening at the end of that, my rationale came back to me at the end of the tour, and I left. I said goodbye. And I had a lot of money. Mottola gave us all a lot of money. I went to CW Post. I paid $110 a credit.
With that money.
No, how much is Post today? About $1,500 a credit?
I can't even remember.
A lot.
No, yeah.
It's up there. But I got my BA in Communication Fine Arts, and I had two members of the Isley Brothers were in my classes.
Okay.
So-
Oh, yeah, I remember you did tell me that. You did tell me that.
And it was really cool. You know, basically, though, everybody had we were in our own worlds and all, but we did acknowledge each other and everything.
So that was like, after that experience, you was like, you
I
didn't
didn't-
really want to be in the industry anymore?
I focused on college.
Or was in school?
I wound up working WCWP 88.1 FM on your radio.
Is that located right off?
on grounds of CW Post?
And that's near. Is that what's Northern Boulevard, right near 106?
It's right near
In Old West?
right near.
Oh,
the
wait, CW.
CW
That's right next to Old West.
Northern Boulevard, yes.
Oh, okay.
If it's on, I used to work over there.
So-
I used to work at Banfield
Anyway.
Winery, which was right.
So
past there.
basically,
Oh, okay.
anytime I ever want to go in there and there's no parking, I go to the guard. WCWP! He lets me go through.
Hey, get us a
Even
show
to-
there.
No, well, actually, I'll tell you something. I was there when the Dome, before the Tilly Center was built, there was the CW Post Dome. It was famous. So anyway, what happened with the Dome was that Bill Moser was the engineer with a license at WCWP. He also was the engineer at WABC AM radio, and he was running the WCWP as an AM format. I said, why don't we go to FM format? He says, you have a second line here. You could run your main power source and you have your secondary power source. He said, but I don't have any of the equipment. I got the equipment. I'll bring my equipment in. I'll set it up. I ran a 100-foot snake from the Dome stage, which goes right into the radio station, into the conference room. And I have microphones like what we have here around the big table. So the band does like a 45-minute set, and then comes in, sits down, talks about the tour, and then they go back out again.
Okay.
So, and I designed it, and the ratings for WCOEP went through the roof.
Okay.
I had Jefferson Starship. I had
You guys interview them.
Merle Saunders with Jerry Garcia. I had a lot of famous names. I had Renaissance.
What
Mac.
years? This is like early 70s or late 70s?
Late 70s, 78.
So,
I graduated post in the 80s. So it was.
Oh, okay.
And
So,
okay.
oh, it's okay. It's
No,
okay.
I can think of the most important thing I ever did in my life.
Oh, okay. Oh, and that was.
The Broadway. That was the Broadway shows.
Oh, you did Broadway shows?
Wow.
Two. What shows?
Midsummer Night's Dream and Operetta by Shakespeare.
You play bass on the Broadway shows?
No, I did more than that. At CW Post, I had my thesis to write. I didn't have to write it. I had to perform it. I arranged orchestra, lighting, sound, the artist, the stage crews, everything. The outdoor shows of each of the Operetta and Midsummer Night's Dream, and they laid out 1,500 seats outdoors at CW Post, and I put the shows on. I had everybody who was stationed who was in charge of each scenery, in charge of this, all around me. And my job, in the end, I said, "Is everyone ready? Yeah, I'm going to click this," and we're on. I clicked it. It went on 45 minutes, 20-minute break, 45 more minutes, and then I went to click it off, and they started applauding. And the applauding went on for almost 10 minutes.
That's amazing.
I went,
So must have been a hell of a feeling.
Yeah, well, the grade was, instead of A, I had an E+.
E plus?
Excellent plus.
Excellent plus, that's amazing.
2 times, I got 6 credits somehow.
So, can you give us some stories, like, about some, like, other famous, because, other famous figures you met? Because I remember you telling me.
I was at the
with,
record plant. In the record plant, 10th floor with John Lennon, and I was with Mark Farmer. He was the lead vocal for Grand Funk Railroad. He was doing recordings on the 4th floor, and I was in that studio with him. And Lennon came down, like I'm sitting with you.
What years?
Lennon sat down. Had to be
late 70s.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this is way before he died.
When did he die? 81.
Like in the 80s. I know definitely in the 80s. Yeah.
But anyway, bottom line was Lennon comes down, sits down, and he is such a laid-back, normal person. He really was. He was like how we are talking. That's how we would talk with him. He enjoyed what we were listening to with Mark Farmer. He did that song, "I'm Getting Closer to My Home." Oh, what song was that?
That is Grand Funk.
See, that's where my mental abilities fall short as I get older.
And as I get older, my brain is like a very bad 1995 search engine. Eventually, what I'm trying to think will come up with.
I hear you. It happens. It's gonna happen to all of us.
Yeah.
Now the other thing I did was
like, can you talk about with Jimi Hendrix? I remember you telling me you was.
I was at
with Jimi Hendrix.
They had what's the 2 studios?
Electric-Land.
No, not the Electric-Land. There were 2 music stores. Oh yes, it was Manny's.
Manny's.
Yes.
Sam Ash on one side of the street, Manny's across.
Right.
Where is this?
Manny's.
48th Street between
Yes.
Broadway and
Sam Ash is right across the street.
Are they all out of business now?
Sam Ash isn't.
Yes.
Manny's is.
Yeah.
I've heard of Sam. I never heard of Manny's. Yeah.
Well, anyway,
There was
so
music
what happened?
block, like,
I went into Manny's, and Hendrix was there, and I didn't really know him, but when I shook his hand, his fingers wrapped all the way around.
Yeah,
his fingers were about this long.
Yeah.
And he put his hand on it and went, oh, yeah. I went, oh, wow. And he was so, laid back. Everyone who is really brilliant knows that they're so deep in their love of what they're doing that they emanate that out when you meet. You think you might run into a star that you know, right? And all of it, but you know something? Today, the stars are more like assholes because everybody wants to sue everyone.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a fact.
That is true.
Back then, nobody sued anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, love was coming out of
Unless you didn't get paid for a gig.
Yeah. I hear you.
Well, now two of my bands got lawyers in them, so.
And I remember you was telling me, and I definitely want to hear this one because this is who I was named after. Like, can you tell me about Miles Davis? Like you said you met him.
Yeah, they were in the same studio.
Oh, the same studio? Okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Because it was Miles and he was playing. Oh, what was the bass?
Oh, you was watching him play? You was watching him play?
No. I got to play with Stanley Clark.
Who's Stanley Clark?
Very famous.
Very famous. Or brilliant bass player. Look him up.
Okay.
Stanley.
I gotta look a lot of these people up, definitely.
Fusion jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
And well, Stanley and I played bass. He played bass. I learned a lot from him. And he played with Miles. And I got to sit in and play with Miles too.
You played with Miles?
In the record plant. And there was only one time, but it was just.
Shit, that's legendary. Shit,
Well,
that's legendary.
It's legendary, but you know something? To me, it was all absorbing into everything I've ever done in my life. I don't talk about a lot of what I've done in my life because I have to care about where I am today.
I hear you. I definitely hear you.
You're asking me to reach into areas that I've
Never really talked
experienced.
about.
I had no idea you did this stuff.
I
I just knew he played with the Hole in Us, but
Yeah. Well,
That's legendary stuff. Like that. It's because like when you was telling me this, I was blown away. Cause I'm like you just like I don't know. It was just random the way like you just walked in. I forgot you just ordered your coffee, and then I don't even know. I can't even remember how we just started
He ordered
talking.
his ice cream, and I was talking to him about the
So
flavors.
you started the talk.
Yeah,
You started the conversation.
Yeah, I started
with him,
talking about the
okay.
flavors of the
I'll
ice
tell
cream, and then
I will tell you one thing. I love the life I lived. If I had to change it over, I never would. I only one thing in my life. I wonder where I'd be today if I had done what Leroy Goldstein asked me to do.
Who's that?
Before there was Sony, there was Columbia Records.
Yeah, of course I've heard of Columbia Records.
Leroy Goldstein was the chairman of Columbia Records.
Okay.
I sent him a tape that I made of me at WCWP. Not of WCWP, of a whole bunch of shit that was in my head. He called me up. He went, Elliot Levy, I'd like you to come into Columbia, it was 57th Street, whatever it was. I'd like to sit down and talk with you. What's your name, Leroy? Who should I ask for when I get there? Leroy Goldstein? Yeah. I saw Leroy I go up. They take me to his front door. Chairman. I walk in. Call me Roy! That kind of thing. So I'm sitting down with him, and he loved what I did, and he talked to me about me and everything, and where my head was at, and he was observing. I don't know how he was observing, but he was listening. And then he asked me to come back next Sunday. I spent 2 Sundays with him. And then as the Sunday goes, that second Sunday, he said, I'm putting you into my production. You are the youngest, freshest mind as a producer. You are going to be able to help this company.
Wow.
And I went, wow. But then I get a phone call a week later. He said, would you mind going out west for 3 or 4 years? I said, why? Well, we have a union problem. There's about 15 guys that have been waiting for about 15 years for the job I want to give you.
Wow.
And they're going to go on strike if I give it to you.
Wow.
He says, hey, but you're the chairman. He says, it doesn't matter. Union's the union. So
he offered you a job out west?
Yeah, but in the meanwhile...
I didn't even know it was unions for record companies
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course there are. But the other thing is, I was working in Nino's studio with Twisted Sister, Joan Jett, and Good. They weren't famous at the time. They were just getting their acting. Twisted Sister was playing Hammerheads and Speeds.
Right. Those places were around when I was a kid.
And they really were raunchy. They were never really good. Ever. The studio made them fair. But you know something? It's all an act for them. Whatever they did, it was total act. Joan Jett too. It's they're raunchy, but just so happens they fell into a good promotional thing with it, and they pushed the original stuff. And put it this way, I got to sit in on a rehearsal with Gene Simmons' band.
Oh, Kiss?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
that's
but
crazy.
They were awful. They were really awful. I mean, I could, you know, that'd be like they're 1, 3, 4 chords. Boom, 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 boom. I love it, but you know, right.
It worked for Kiss, but it didn't work.
Well,
for
actually, Kiss made all their money in Japan.
Really?
Japan loved Kiss.
Yeah, I wanted to go to Japan so bad.
But there's so much money in Japan. But you know, put it this way: a piece of sushi in Japan, $30 a slice.
Ugh. I think
If you want an apartment,
I think
one room apartment is $5,000 a month.
What?
Yeah.
In Japan?
Look it up.
That's crazy.
And like this will be in American money. It'll be like
Yeah.
5. That is ridiculous.
People stay in micro hotels
they have
the size of the couch.
They have no room, and they have millions of people with no room.
So yeah, so your hotel is the size of the couch, basically.
Wow, that's crazy.
Your hotel?
So a hotel room is very small.
That's
Everything.
crazy.
Is there any like crazy like that you feel comfortable talking about? Any like crazy wild story, like of like
There are.
I'm sure there are.
I want. Can you tell us like a crazy wild story from like in like in your heyday, like being like around like you know in the music, like kind of being in the music, anything like what's like one of like the most memorable things that come to the top of your head?
I think it was.
I got one.
All right.
I got one.
All right.
So yeah. So in 2010, I saw an ad for. Somehow I discovered that at the original site of Woodstock, they were doing these festivals, and I saw actually a Facebook post that was between what's his name from Country Joe and the Fish.
Country Joe and the Fish.
Yeah, Joe McDonald. Joe McDonald
You ever know the
was
commercial
talking.
Geico commercial going up to the country?
That's not Country Joe. That's Canned Heat.
Canned Heat.
But same era. Anyway, somehow I found out about this festival and somehow got my band, Retro69, this was before your time, onto this festival. And it had stopped for a while, and because it was starting out again, it wasn't inundated with bands yet, like it had been earlier. Because again, this festival was on the real Woodstock site, but it was more grassrootsy. So we went up, and we got to play quite a bit. And somehow, before even it started, it was like it was Friday afternoon, all of a sudden, the producer of the show comes running up. We need musicians because Greg Allman's son, Greg Allman's oldest son is playing. Michael Allman. Could anyone play Allman Brothers music now? Allman Brothers were very famous in the 70s and 80s of classic Southern rock, and we love that stuff. And wow, this guy's great. He ended up looking just like Greg Allman. He looked just like him, sounded like him. But of course, our band wasn't there, and we don't play the Allman Brothers, only a few songs. So I went around scrounging people. Could you do this? Could you do that? We ended up, and it's on video. You know, it's actually, if you do a search, Michael Allman, Retro69, you'll see it. So playing that was great. Also playing with strangers, backing up someone who's basically, you know, like Greg Allman. That was very memorable.
I hear you. That's great. I gotta hear it. I gotta look up. I gotta do my research with some of these. Like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you'll see it. You'll see it.
I have to do my research with because a lot of these names is like people like Allman Brothers. I never really. These are the first time I'm hearing.
Yeah, it's one of the most famous Southern rock groups. And again, this is his son, but he really is a knockoff of. He has his own band that's more modern that sounds just like Greg Allman. But that to me was and that whole weekend was magical because there weren't so many people there. Our band got to be the closing act on Saturday. We got to play, you know, and then I got to play with the Grateful Dead tribute band as well. I got a little sick that night. And I did have 2 episodes of actually at the Woodstock location. Just certain people shouldn't have certain things. Let's put it that way. Not everyone can handle their alcohol or other things.
I hear you.
So these kids were selling these cookies, and you know, thinking,
you got so sick.
Some edibles.
Edibles. So I had the cookies, okay, and this was on an empty stomach.
Yeah. Oh, that's
You
bad.
don't do
Yeah.
This was on an empty, more or less. So I have these cookies. Okay, this was after we played the first. This is 2010. Nothing happens. So the girls I were with go and they have more, and then nothing happened to them. So I go, I'll get 2 more. Stupid me has 2 more. Well, that's all it took.
Yeah, it took 2.
All of a sudden, I started getting very affected by it. Meanwhile, no one believes me. I'm with the band. We're walking around now as customers because we're ready to play. And I'm losing my brain. And I'm like, and everyone thinks I'm like kidding around. And it's just very, very bad. So Melissa's holding my hand the whole time because I'm like brain dead as I'm walking around. But finally, I did know that every 10 seconds, every 20 seconds, I would get a little brain power back.
Yeah.
And I went on the stage and I says, you know the brown ass you're not supposed to have? Well, I had the brown cookies. Is there a nurse in the house? Anyway, I spent the rest of the night listening to the bands in the tents. And that also very memorable.
That's a crazy trip right there. That's crazy. So what about you? Like that, like what's like the most memorable thing from back in the day?
The only thing I really remember is being in the ready room. I told you about it with tuning up with John. Oates. John Oates. Holden Oates.
From Holden Oates? Okay.
It was one of the last things. We were playing in Chicago. It was at a stadium.
In Chicago. Okay.
And
were you on the stage this time?
No.
You still?
No. I was not. What happened was tuning up with him, and Darryl was sitting over on the side, and I'm facing John, the assistant road manager. Tall girl, lady who was screaming at everyone, "You're supposed to be here before the show. You're supposed to be there." And the door was open, and we hear her coming down the hall.
You and John?
And John looks, I look up at John, and John looks at me and goes, "Uh-oh." Well, what is it? And then we hear her. And, I'm, oh, shit. And Darryl jumps between us and snaps his fingers and starts going, "Oh, here she comes. Watch out, boy.
Wow. Wow, so that was what came out? That was why. That was
with about the assistant road manager.
Wow, that's a story right there.
So Man Eater is based on the man. It's not an ex-girlfriend. It's the road manager.
Well, but they probably
inspired.
Inspired.
Yeah.
Maybe
that moment generated
probably
one moment generated $40 million.
That's crazy. You witnessed that.
He wrote it. He wrote the piece.
Yeah.
He made it up right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. You should get a cut.
All I said was, "Uh-oh."
Yeah. So, all right. So now
for a royalty steal.
So now let's talk about. So how do you? So fast forward. You go to school.
I'm out of the music business.
Out of the music business.
Then when I finished school, I sent a thing to Leroy Goldstein. But I was working at Nino Studios, and in Rockville Center, I was working in a place called JB Studios. And so between both studios, I had multi-recording equipment for pre-production. 8-track units and twin 4-track units. So I had, everybody was using everything when I was here, and if I wasn't there, they were sometimes using it without me.
Do you know how to engineer and stuff like that?
Yeah, I used to do it.
Okay. All right.
But it was all analog.
Oh yeah.
No such thing as digital.
What is analog? What is that?
Like analog, the digital takes an analog signal and digitalizes it so you can put it in there. You can't take a regular microphone and plug it into there. It won't decipher. Those mics there are all analog.
Okay.
The PA system is analog that you see there. But I can do a lot.
I'm assuming it's like waves, right?
Yes, it's either waves or the waves are broken up into zeros and ones. If you remember your basic concept of transmission of anything digital, it's all based on zeros, ones, and zeros and ones and so forth. But when analog, it's just a wave, and that is the sound that comes out.
Okay.
And there are people that prefer the sound of analog.
Yeah.
And prefer the sound of. By the way, some people do like records, and I lost most of my records in Hurricane Sandy, but I'm buying them back. So for $60, I got one of these retro-style record players.
Oh, I have one of those.
Oh, yeah, they sell record players at Urban Outfitters.
I got a Technics.
Yeah, right.
And
they're not expensive, and the truth is, I got one for $60. Now, it does look like cheap plastic, but the truth is, it doesn't sound bad at all. My son, I gave him my, record player from in the 1980s, but I got the cheap knockoff, and I'm playing these great records on the thing. So,
there's a company.
They're definitely coming back. Like people collecting them now, and
they're making records
even like for like the latest stuff. Yeah,
the latest stuff's coming out on records.
Yeah. But I mean, history repeats itself.
Right.
Everything is going to repeat
I don't
itself.
think we're getting the 8 tracks though.
Well, I will tell you this. My father, I gave him my Thorn. Thorns was in
Your what?
Gardens. Thorns turntable.
Oh, it sounded like something else. I'm glad.
The Thorns turntable is in the archives of what do you call it? Smithsonian.
Oh.
I have it.
Oh, wow.
I gave it to my father. He just passed away.
Oh, sorry to hear
And
that.
my mom is still. As a matter of fact, this Sunday.
100 years old.
My mother's going to be 100. No, just turned 100.
That's a blessing. That's a
My
blessing.
father died at 96.
Oh, they live long.
Yeah.
They live long.
They
That's
lived,
good.
There's a reason this man looks so young. The reason why he has all his hair.
That's all it's said. Yeah.
Well, I'm only 66. I'm only 67.
So it's good.
Who would
That's
think
good.
67 would be this young?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But you know what it is? My mother taught me a lot because she's 100 and taking it gracefully.
Wow. That's amazing. That is a blessing. I definitely want to live that long. Definitely.
Yeah.
And beyond. And like so like when did you guys meet? When did you guys meet? Because you said 1997 you guys met?
No.
Oh.
But in 1997, he doesn't remember this, but I do. I was desperately looking for gigs. I was very aggressive trying to get gigs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still working with, I had moved into Long Island, and I was working with Gary at the time. It was actually before Gary. And so I went to a place in Valley Stream.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out he is running a jam session with LIE. And there he is at the place, smiling like this. I mean,
I loved playing. Yeah.
sitting there,
He'll always
there he
say
was with his
smiling.
bass playing like. Anyway, so Larry let me play the
That was
keyboard.
in Rockville Center or
No.
Valley Stream?
Valley Stream.
Oh, that Rockaway Avenue. What was
Rockaway
that?
Avenue. It was an Italian restaurant.
Yep.
And it was just like, and I didn't see him again for a while. But ended up happening is later on my band started to little by transition and change, and Gary ended up leaving, and then we got less on guitar. It would usually someone from Retrofest from another band would join my band,
Mm-hmm.
and then we needed a bass player. So Les, who played with him in the project, brought him in. I don't even know when that was, but it was a long time ago. Do you remember when that was?
And Les was going out with Melissa.
But yeah, eventually Les and Melissa started dating each other.
And now they're both married to different people.
They're both married to different people. You know, and to their credit, you never would have known they were dating. They were so good about it. A lot of times they say don't mix.
Well, one
bands
time
with-
Melissa said,
don't mix
one
business
time
with
Melissa
pleasure,
said
yeah.
to me,
Very good.
Les
You
is
would-
my big squeeze. So she
But-
once told me that.
Yeah, I mean, I knew they were, but they were very professional about it. You never felt like there was an inside circle that you weren't part of, and great band members.
So, alright, so you guys meet and like shortly after. So talk about how Retro69 and Retrofest. Talk about that. So
Here you go, kid.
Retrofest. So Retrofest again is the charity arm, the multiple band stuff. So again, it started out just as it started out. Nice, Mike. It started out at a whim. Let's just do Woodstock, right? Second time, let's do something else, and let's try to have a charity bucket. No big deal. But by the third time, all right, it was, let's seriously get a good venue behind this. Let's get a good charity behind this, and we'll expand it to different types of music festivals, not just Woodstock, but some other stuff that would occur. And a place called the Sunset Grill, which at the time was a very popular place for classic rock.
It's still there.
Still there, Seaford.
Oh, Seaford, okay.
It's on
But you
Merritt.
had
It's on Sunrise.
Sunrise, but you had to bring a lot of people to play there. But because this was a special event, the owner was very interested and very much liked it. The owner also, turned out it wasn't the owner, it was the manager, also was very connected to these musicians like he is. He had played with them in the 60s and 70s, so he was happy to have us play his type of music there. So it started, Retrofest 3 and 4, it started to peak to the point where we started to get 200, 250 people down to the event. Charity was making a lot of money. And remember, we didn't have a professional backline. We didn't have a professional sound system. It was Gary and Leslie, my band, okay, acting as the house band with our equipment, me running around like, I don't want to say chicken with no head, I hate cliches, but basically trying to get, at the time, I didn't do 2 stages, but like 8 bands to go on one after the other, get them off the stage, on the stage, not have delays. Now imagine what happens when band number 7 is going on an hour and a half later at 1:30 in the morning. People get upset.
Yeah.
So then you had to make sure you soothe people. Then you promise them better slot. But when these events start, you're like on speed, and it's just you live for it. Going through all this great music for a good cause, and just working with people, and then
you meet some incredible musicians too.
We met all these different. Now here's something else too. Okay, we consider ourselves grassroots. So the bands that we attracted were not the ones that were playing in the real big venues that could live off of their bands. These were generally bands who played really good music and our kinds of stuff, but they weren't famous groups, and they weren't bands that were playing at Malibu or whatever else.
Well, we did have. I did bring in a couple of people, Alan Parsons people.
But on occasion though, we would get celebrities, musicians who played in the past, like the keyboard player from Alan Parsons. Remember that you brought
Jeffrey.
Right. And I got a few people from Woodstock that came down. That were interested. A guy that played with Bert Summer, he was the second band that played, second or third, the third act. So Ira Stone, he played at our event twice, and I got to sit in with him on organ. So for me, I'm playing the organ that was done.
You have to feel good when that.
Wow, that was great. And then David Bennett Cohen, who played with Country Joe and the Fish and others, he played with us. And he's a really good keyboard player. So he was nice. He let me play organ, and then he just totally kicked ass on the piano. But he also played organ, but he kind of like let me do my part, so I had something to do. And that was fun. All of a sudden you're on the phone with these big people. One particular show was Retro69 in the city. It was done for the Kansas City, Maxwell Kansas City Foundation, which had been founded by the owner of a very famous bar where a lot of the punk scene started. But it was a very, very good charity. We did it in a very nice venue, and we had a lot of these, semi-famous people that had been at Woodstock or other things. Unfortunately, the PR didn't go out well enough, and we had 50 musicians and maybe 50 people. So we just didn't raise that much money. We just made very good music, and Shelley Sunstein from 104.3 was the host. She was we have that on video and audio.
Our whole thing is no matter what we did with these things, the concept of the proper way of promoting it wasn't available to us.
Yeah.
And if it was, these things would have been a home run.
Right.
Oh, definitely.
We were using Facebook and other stuff at a time. It was quickly getting saturated.
But times have changed now, so
I'm
telling them to go back to it now.
I love it. It did burn out. I mean, how do you know it's burning out? Well, you know it's burning out when you're first doing the first 10, you're getting all these bands calling you, and you're getting a good variety. But by the time you're up to number 35 to 40, it's the same groups again. They're very sweet people. But when it's the same 5 or 6 groups coming and playing it, you don't get the crowds, you don't get the variety of the music. And at a certain point, don't mean to talk negative, but running a bar is a tough business.
Yeah,
this is their livelihood, and while I don't like attitudes, I can understand why when they don't make money they get upset. So what ruined it for me, there was a place that, and not forever, but what ruined it for me for a while there was a place I'd done maybe 15 shows at. And I loved playing there. And the guy was always gracious, always gave us a date, a year ahead of time. We did our event, we had a lot of people down, and what we always do is we give 1 drink to each musician. Alright, so I had 3, but everyone else had 1. Alright? We don't get paid. And then the owner, spoke to me, he goes, "What's with the drinks?" And I said, "Well, we always had that." He goes, "Well, I kind of lost money." I go, "You lost money? With 200 people that were down there?" And I realized that if that's what we have to worry about, I can't be in this. I can't be putting my effort into something where I have to worry that at a charity event, my 200 people who are in their 50s and 60s and 40s aren't drinking enough. That's not a business I'm going to win. And it just took the steam out of it for a while. But I'm itching to do it again. I'm itching to start recruiting and get.
I would say focus on the PR.
The PR and also hooking up with a charity that could help and get involved.
Well, right now,
and
let me
draw,
tell you,
and draw people down.
Let me tell you what I think.
Bands alone are not going to do it because it's just too many events.
The animal rescue thing is getting bigger now. That Celino and Barnes is along with Bobby and the Straits. I guarantee, if you hooked up with the Bobby and the Straits thing again, knowing that it's all over television, Bobby and the Strays now. The commercials everywhere, Solino and
Where
Bobby
we
and
delivered to that PR. We did few for them. We actually had a very good time, and we did decent.
We'll do a lot more now because the PR is already in place.
It's good to know.
So I get
And I like the little dogs too.
So my cats.
What I also want to know is like you guys have experienced life and like whatnot. Like what's kind of like some life advice you could give to
us and the younger
listeners?
generation.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Okay.
You want to start?
Yeah, I would say when you're running into a crisis of any type, like nobody can explain what type of crisis you'll have, that you take a step back because your emotions might want to bring you, oh no, you have a brain. You think around your crisis and it'll keep you young.
Mm.
And if you're talking about wanting to grow old and graceful,
Yes.
it builds a stamina. So I've had situations where someone had ripped me off a lot of money one time, and you know what I said after that? I said, I'm going to go forward. I'm not going to bother him. He tried to bother me afterward, and I just pushed him aside.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't need to talk to him. You know, this guy is going to, everything in life goes full circle. So what he's done to me, someone's going to do 10 times to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to know about it. But everything, I'm still happy inside. I was mad for the moment, but I was able to put this over my emotion.
Mm.
And that's, I'd recommend for you, both of you guys, whatever you do, because in life, it's going to happen frequently. And the more you learn from people, you learn that there are people who give you their heart. And there's people who want to take your heart from you. And I find that to be the most important thing in any endeavor you go into in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my mother has taught me a lot because here she is 100 taking it gracefully.
Mm-hmm.
And my father, the other thing was that my father worked until the day he died.
Really?
He worked in the office, my sister took him to lunch, he came out of lunch, and his last words were, catch me, I'm falling.
Wow.
Then he was
So you passed away on a work day?
on a Monday, yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, my father-in-law, he built a multi-million-dollar business. My father,
On Lawson.
Yeah, Lawson Boulevard, doing $1 million a week in sales. So he turns around. He sold the business in 2003. He became bitter. He became so bitter that his cancer returned,
Yeah, that is.
and he suffered the last 2-3 years of his life.
Your father-in-law.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So my father-in-law and my father were two very successful people. And my father lived 10 years past my father-in-law.
Because you just didn't stop. You didn't want to stop.
Didn't stop working. Didn't stop being busy.
Yeah, that's definitely advice. That definitely is advice. I always say when I retire, what am I going to do? I'm going to get a farm. I'm going to do computer consulting at night so I can pay the bills.
He wants to buy Oscar's farm. That's what it was.
I want to have raise Russian blue cats and then have like a petting zoo and then have concerts. But so different advice is number one is always keep a passion that makes you happy. I've been married 20 years, and my wife's always been very supportive of me having the music.
That's good.
I mean, don't make the music more important than your family.
As you know, my wife lets me do everything here.
Mm-hmm.
And she's sleeping in the other room.
That's great. She comes out sometimes during the show. You find a balance, but always give yourself the time for the passion. You know, that's number two is always have good friends, be with people. So when the shit hits the fan, you know you're not alone. That's definitely very, very.
I hear that. I definitely hear
Very
that.
true.
And so,
Any financial advice or business advice?
yeah, I mean, like, yeah,
Marriage advice?
Put 10% of whatever you make away.
10% of whatever you make away. Okay.
Don't even think about it. For every dollar, 10 cents away will give you money when you need it. Period.
Okay.
I know the cost of living is kills everyone these days.
Yeah.
I do have marriage advice. Just it's very generic that you can marry the most wonderful person in the world that you're infatuated with and very attracted to. And human nature is just that as time goes on, you get used to people.
Yeah.
And it's more than that. The nature, and we're talking about a good relationship, not a bad relationship.
Okay.
But even with the most gorgeous person you had a really exciting time with, as you get married, you become like business partners. You become like siblings. You become like friends. It's all very, very good. But that takes up a lot of your mental energy and a lot of your regular energy. Let's face it, you're coming home late from work, but you have all these things to worry about. And your relationship ends up being more and more like that, and less like,
Romantic.
Yeah. Now, the key with that is don't blame yourself if you feel that way, because you're not evil. And don't blame yourself if all of a sudden you feel excited by these other girls walking around. But understand that's not because your wife is bad, and it's not because you fell in love with these other girls. It's human nature. And at that point, you teach yourself, how can I get the excitement back with my spouse? So, like, I know myself, when I see myself with my female friends at school, and I want to be friendly and all that stuff, not in a bad way. I said, well, how do I bring that energy into my relationship? You teach yourself not to think of your spouse as your business partner, because that's all you do, but you start to remember how it was.
Yeah.
And don't feel bad that you have that conflict, but but use it for a good thing.
I've heard like by multiple like older gentlemen that I work with, don't stop dating your wife. You know,
that's exactly that.
That's right.
That's exactly
kind of what happens. Like after years go past, you just get used to the fact that she's there now.
Yeah.
And like
You get comfortable.
Yeah.
You get very
Just
comfortable.
remember, that's the one. As you grow old, that's the one person that's by your side.
Yes.
And you're going to need that. Believe me. When you start aching and you're in pain and everything.
Even before the pain.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, a little piece of advice. This sounds like it's from left field, but I just like to tell people, if you ever find yourself getting like chronic back pain or something like this, there are a lot of people in this world that believe that certain aspects of it are psychosomatic. And there's a book to read by Dr. John Sarno that talks about the mental connection to it. After I read it, it kind of went away, and I do 5Ks and everything else like that. So just know that the human mind is so powerful that it could create these pains. For actually, it's a defense mechanism actually, but because it's so powerful, it can actually go away.
I'll give you a perfect example of what happened 4 months ago. I fell down steps, I grabbed onto the banister, and I tore tendons.
Yeah, right. I know what that's about. I did that too.
Extreme pain. And immediately I go to they MRI'd it, and he signed this so we could do the surgery.
And you said, nope.
He said, what's my option? And they go, well, you can try physical therapy, but you will never be 100%. He says, at my age, I'm not 100% to begin with. So I went ahead to physical therapy. 6 weeks paid for by insurance. And then I took everything from there and I went to my gym. Gave all the things to the gym instructor. And here I am 4 months later, and I'm able to do it.
Yeah.
90% of everything. I got a little popping in here, but I don't have the pain. I just lift things. I can play guitar.
You can do a whole
and I didn't have to
podcast on that
have
issue.
surgery.
And there are people that I personally listen to podcasts by people that talk about the mind-body connection from this. But I do like to tell everybody, because it's not, doesn't solve everybody's problem, but it happens to be, it's very, very, very common. And I remember in my case where I was getting all this tightness and everything else, not the arthritis stiffness that older people get, but just this random back pain from 20 onward. And I read the book and I read it again, and and then all of a sudden it stopped hurting me for a few days, and then I went running. And now every time I run, it feels good.
That's
Definitely.
great.
Definitely. That's good. Even though I understand what you guys say, like the mind is the most powerful thing. This is definitely the most
Is
powerful.
that why you always run the hectares?
Oh, you saw me run? That's right.
I did. We drive. It's about a half a mile
You see me running.
from Yasgur's farm, where Woodstock is, to where Hector's is, which they have another stage.
We play
and
multiple places.
So anyway, I'm driving. There he is, running down the side of the road. I go, oh.
Wow.
He'll get there. He'll get there.
I remember as a kid when I was even in Staten Island. I remember I would go to my friend's house and I'd come home at 2 in the morning. And it just didn't feel that safe going home, so I ran. They figured they'd have to catch me.
Yeah. So
And I actually did get mugged once on the bike. So I started to run like, good luck with the car on the sidewalk because I'm,
no, that's crazy. That's crazy. But I guess we gotta wrap it up here. So, is there any last things you guys want to say to the people and everything?
Well, come out and see us.
Oh yeah. Talk about that. Yeah, like promote you guys stuff. Yeah.
Well, actually, January 12th, Sunday, 2 o'clock.
2 to 4:30
at the Long Beach Library, Retro69, which plays Woodstock. We opened up Woodstock on the 50th anniversary. We are going to be performing the Woodstock show at the library.
It is a free show.
Free show.
You gotta get there early so you get a seat.
And we will be playing everything from all the people from Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix. We're going to be
Creedence Clearwater.
Oh, forget it. If you want to go through the whole list.
Yeah, 20. We do like 20 out of 20. Also, we have a new website that we have. It's Retro69.net.
.net.
Yeah, .com was taken by some strange overseas site. I don't know what the hell's on it, but it's not us. So it's Retro69.net.
And the reason we're Retro69, Woodstock was 1960.
And we are retrospective of it. We don't wear the wigs, but we do wear the 6'6" clothes.
I hear you.
and it will be an educational for anybody. Grandparents bring grandchildren to see this show.
And we play the bands that people forgot about. We love doing that. We focus on a lot of the bands that...
And the grandparents know those bands too. So
I hear you. So
it's a lot of fun. I have as I say, as my life goes, I'm in 5 different music groups. But my heart's in with retro because we're all laid back and we do exactly what our heart wants.
And I always say, life should be no more complicated than being upset that you didn't get to do a certain song at the show. Right? That should be the word.
Exactly. That's
Like, do you remember the guy who used to get on the phone and say, "Oh, I have terrible news. We can't do this song. Please, God, make my problems like that." Right? You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. Well, I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you.
Thank you for coming here. It's
no problem.
We will be looking out for this podcast. Let us know.
You can find it on SoundCloud, and you can also find it on this video on YouTube.
Oh well, that I'll look there quickly.
If you guys have Instagram, you can also follow that.
What would be under YouTube?
So
what's your channel? Do you have a channel?
Yeah, we have a YouTube channel. It's called Jewel Talk Podcast.
Yeah, how do you spell it? Spell like
Jewel,
like jewelry, like JEWEL Talk Podcast. You can just search that on YouTube, and then we're on,
not the cigarette, but the ring.
Yeah, yeah, and then we're on and then on SoundCloud we're just Jewel Talk, and so yeah, you can look us up on there. But so thank you, gentlemen, once again. I appreciate your time. Thank you for the wonderful stories and the history and knowledge.
I'm glad we were able to fill your.
Go out and buy some records, or just go onto Spotify and listen to some of these artists.
Oh no, definitely. I wanna we're gonna.
We have a lot of things for research from what we told.
And please, go onto my website and just go to the contact me page, and that will get me your email, and then you'll get once a month an email from us. We're limited to 1 email a month, so you don't have to worry about getting.
Oh, okay.
Remember, it's a Facebook invite that no one cares about because they get millions of them.
And if so, any of you, any of the viewers, like any of the listeners that are into music from the time period that they talk about, definitely check out their website. Give them a look. Like, head to their show January 12th at the Long Beach Library. Definitely give it a look, and just if you're interested in that type of music, it sounds like a good thing to do. And, a fun activity. Definitely sounds like a fun activity.
Remember, it's Retro69.net. Another plug also is if you have a band and you covered material from like the late 60s, early 70s, keep in touch with us because we'll be recruiting bands again for our charity events, the Retro Fests.
I hear you.
Okay.
So, we're going to end it here. So thank you guys. Thank you, Elliot.
I know we'll see you at Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes, definitely.
But don't allow me to get that drink because I get very sick from it.
I got you. So
you know who I be.
So yeah, start it over, bro.
Alright, so I be Mac More Money.
Now Finesse Leo. And guys, you have been listening to Jewel Talk.
Jewel Talk.
Jewel Talk.
Jewel Talk.
Jewel Talk, spin nothing but jewels, you heard? We out of here. Peace.
Oh, that was great.
That was great.
That was really good.
Yeah.